So, hello everybody. Today I'm going to do something different. I'm going to try and play a journaling solo RPG. Now, I've never played any of these before, and I also am not the best at journaling, but what I'm really good at is talking. So, I have decided to do something that you also find in, for example, Dracula by Bram Stoker, where everybody keeps writing letters to each other or writes into journals. We have Dr. Seward, who actually talks into a machine that records his voice. And this is what I'm going to be doing today, but I'm not just going to do this any old way. But I have discovered a free journaling game called, and this is very suitable for actually this time of year, and it should actually be played, they say, by candlelight in the dark, which unfortunately today I can't do because tonight I'm actually playing. I'm looking forward to playing another round of Curse of Strahd, but I will be able to probably continue this over the next couple of months with the other scenarios because there are several scenarios available. But so first of all, what is English Eerie? First of all, you can get this on Drive-Thru RPG, and I think it costs about €8. They were going to do a soft cover thing, but that was announced in 2020, I think, and since then nothing's happened. So I don't think that this is ever going to materialize. But you can get the PDF, and they define it as rural horror storytelling for one player. It's written by Scott Malthouse, and the images are in the public domain when you look at the actual PDF, which I'm not going to share. Introduction. From the heather-touched North Yorkshire moors, and I've been there and I can tell you this is true, to the rolling yellow fields of Somerset, England is home to breathtaking natural beauty. But this ancient land also harbours a veiled dread beneath the veneer of rural normality, a haunted spectral landscape whose dark tales have been offered in the corner of squat Tudor pubs on dreary nights. The English countryside is haunted. Stand in the quiet of a lonely wood as the leaves whisper their secrets in your ear, and you will realize that there's something not quite right here. The land is shaped by stories of gnarled hags who enter the villages to steal away children, phantom coaches heard from the roadside, and black hell beasts roaming the moors for their next victims. Tall stone megaliths recall witches dancing on the Sabbath, engaging in unholy acts, and calm pools hide beings who would seek to drag wanderers to a dreadful end. English Eerie takes inspiration from folklore, along with the works of M.R. James, Arthur Machen, and Algernon Blackwood, to help players tell their own haunted tales of the English countryside. The game is designed to be played over one or a series of dark evenings by the flicker of candlelight. No can do because if you've got cats, candlelight can be difficult. As a player, you will need a journal, a pen, a 10-sided die, and a set of tokens in two colors, beads, etc., and a deck of playing cards. First of all, a couple of things. I have got playing cards and I've got the deck set up already. The way this works is you take three queens. They're going to be the grey ladies, and then you take 4, 5, 6, and 7s of all 4 suits. You just shuffle them together, and then you make 3 piles. And at the bottom of each pile, you put a grey lady. Now, a grey lady is kind of like a really big event that's going to happen, because the way this is going to be played is you have a scenario, you've got a couple of minor characters, you've got obstacles that these characters can cause you, and you've got clues that you may discover, and you can also be threatened by the environment itself. And the suit of the card that you draw determines what is happening. If you draw a grey lady, first of all, the tension rises, but also as soon as you've got a grey lady on the table, it means that there will be more happening. So it's going to be more difficult, and you resolve obstacles by rolling a d10, and you roll against the number on the card. So if you draw a 4 of clubs, for example, a 4 of clubs would mean that the secondary character obstructs me. So I go to the obstruction table for secondary characters. I choose randomly what they're going to do, and then I have to roll. And let's say I drew a 4 of clubs, then at the beginning I would have to roll a 4 or higher. If a grey lady were already in play, it wouldn't be a 4, but it would be a 4 plus 1. I also have two, if you like, character traits, resolve and spirit. And I can divide, and I do this at the beginning, and I haven't done this yet, of the game, divide 10 points between these. If I ever end up with a spirit 0, and I lose spirit whenever I lose a roll, the game ends. If I want to ensure that I pass a roll, I can spend resolve. And then I deduct the resolve from it. And essentially, since this is a journaling game, the idea is that you narrate in a journal, or you could say you write a letter to someone, and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to write to dearest Olivia about what's happening. And the idea and the game aspect behind it is really that you create your own story around it. Like I said, I've never done this before, but I'm really intrigued by this because it's kind of like horror, it's the right time of year, and so on and so forth. In the intro that I was reading to you, they mention someone named, they mention 3 authors. M.R. James, I don't know them. I do know Arthur Machen, but I'm an absolute avid fan of Algernon Blackwood. Now, Algernon Blackwood was an English author who wrote in the beginning of the 20th century. And he was kind of a little bit contemporary with H.P. Lovecraft. And H.P. Lovecraft is often celebrated as the person who created the most horrific stories. And let me tell you, I have read every single story H.P. Lovecraft has written. I've also read his letters that have been published, and I've also read other works by him, and I've also read stories that he has co-written with other authors. There are a couple of stories by him that are really eerie and horrific. The Color Out of Space is one. The Thing on the Doorstep is another. And for simple reasons of vastness, indefinite lifespans, and eons of time, so is Polaris, in my opinion. Other works by him, like The Shadow over Innsmouth and even Call of Cthulhu, are actually not very horrific, and Call of Cthulhu is outright boring. But for some reason, he's totally hyped. Of course, you know, the various Call of Cthulhu role-playing games and adventure games and computer games have helped. However, in my opinion, Algernon Blackwood is actually the more horrifying of the two, and the one who is not the better wordsmith, because, well, I mean, I will say that H.P. Lovecraft is very repetitive and derivative of himself. So basically, he's not the great wordsmith. I mean, he came up with, I mean, it's not just a moon, it has to be a gibbous moon, and so on and so forth. And everything is kind of like, you know, he uses long words to impress people. He was a very learned person, but he also tries to express this. Algernon Blackwood embodies I would say really the English countryside and the horror that dwells within. And I will recommend 2 stories to you if you've never read him, and that is The Willows and The Man Whom the Trees Loved. I know that this is a mouthful, but it is an incredible story. The Man Whom the Trees Loved. I'm not going to even tell you what it's about because it really has to be experienced. It has to be read. The other one, The Willows, is very famous, I believe. And it is the story of 2 men going on a canoeing trip on the Danube, and they come upon an island where they have to spend the night because obviously the Danube is a really long river and blah blah blah, and it takes them ages, so they basically have to go there and they have to spend the night there. And what happens on that island, I'm also not going to spoil, and it's also something that I find really difficult to explain because the story is inexplicable. You just need to read it. And when I read that this is based on the sentiments and of Algernon Blackwood's writing, I was like, this is a game for me. And this is also why I have picked the scenario that I have chosen because it is to do with a river. But first, I would like to read something more from the book. You must not read from the book. Rural horror. When we talk about rural horror, we're talking not only about ghost stories and folklore set in the countryside, but the horror inherent in the landscape itself. While many settings work for this type of macabre genre, there is something about the English countryside that makes it perfect for spinning ghoulish tales. And I will actually tell you, um, those of you who know The Lord of the Rings will remember, hopefully, the first part, which is the best part, which is when they leave the Shire and try to get to Bree. To me, this is the most important part of the whole book because it encapsulates everything that you need to know about The Lord of the Rings, that you need to know about things that mattered to Professor Tolkien. And there is this one scene basically where they get lost and they in the old forest, and they basically ride their ponies up a hill, and it's described that basically now they are above the they're above the the fog which has descended upon the land, and they can now look above it. And it's like they are in a sea of fog and standing on a lone island that protrudes out of it. And this is an incredible description of the scenery. You can even imagine it, the way he describes it. But the funny thing is, I saw that. I was in a place where I saw just that, and that it was on Dartmoor. I want to say 1989, no, sorry, 1988. We drove onto Dartmoor, and there was no mist. There was no fog. Everything was fine. And Dartmoor, if you've ever been, is very, very vast and it's very, very bleak. And it's a great place to go walking in. And we went for hikes for hours. But that day, suddenly the weather changed. And we were like, okay, we're not going to go hiking because the weather has just turned. And we were driving through the fog, and then the road climbed, and we drove up. And I mean, Dartmoor is hilly, but it's by no means mountainous, but it is quite hilly. And suddenly we broke through the fog, and we were on a hill. I don't know how tall that hill was, but we were surrounded by an ocean of fog. And I will always remember this because it was like, this is like in the book. This was so like in The Lord of the Rings, this scene. And so this actually proves that I mean, we all know that when Tolkien described the Shire, he described England, an idealized England that even when in his day didn't exist anymore, but an England nonetheless that might have existed at some point in the past. And I was so impressed by this. And this is also when they say that there is something about the English country that makes it perfect for spinning ghoulish tales. I wouldn't say, probably they're missing the word countryside, about the English country. I would say countryside. It is true. When you go to places in rural England, much more so than rural Ireland, where I've lived for 17 years, much more so than rural Ireland, it is just absolutely horrific. When the light is fading and when the mist is creeping in and when the wind is driving through the willows, it is incredibly eerie. There is a deep unsettled history in the hills, woodlands, and valleys of England, one of ancient bloodshed, blood-fueled rites, and malicious machinations. A layer of folklore has enveloped this spectral landscape, so much so that you cannot go anywhere without recalling a story about an evil spirit living within a cave, or being told about a phantom or two who haunt the halls of a stately home. To this day you can still hear footsteps on the landing. The works of renowned author M.R. James are dripping with tales of rural terror, often set in manor houses deep within the country, like A View from a Hill, that evokes a land haunted by the accursed dead. James' tales were often set in small villages or coastal towns, or some evil is nudged awake by some hapless scholar. Algernon Blackwood, who was much loved by H.P. Lovecraft, too wrote about the cold, naked country and its eerie inhabitants. In arguably his greatest work, The Willows. Oh, this is funny because they're even mentioning the Willows. Blackwood conjures a land that it is at odds with humanity, one that is ancient and where we only trespass. While The Willows is set in Eastern Europe, on the Danube, the descent into madness the characters face, brought on by their natural surroundings, can easily be placed in England. In fact, the scenario The Lost River. Okay, I mean, I have to say what I've just been talking about. I hadn't read the intro actually. So basically, now they're even saying that the scenario The Lost River in this book is inspired by this tale. Yeah, okay. What is presented in English Eerie is a method of immersing yourself as one of the characters from these rural horror stories. Through the system, you will craft your very own tale, respond to the actions of others, and unveil clues that will lead you to the inevitable conclusion. Like the characters in many a weird tale, yours may not survive, or they may suffer a fate even worse than death. So, to begin play, you must form the character you will embody when writing in your journal. This is a simple affair. In English Eerie, character mechanics are not as prominent as in many other role-playing games. Just from the simple fact that the stats and figures can get in the way of telling a good story. Or a good ghost story. Your character has two attributes, resolve and spirit. These will diminish as the story unfolds, helping your character keep his wits and determining the final outcome of the tale. Resolve represents your character's determination to continue onwards, to rationalize the irrational, and to keep their wits about them. Resolve is spent to help your character overcome obstacles in scenes. Spirit represents your character's thoughts, feelings, and physical well-being. As spirit is reduced, your character falls into a spiral of horror, doubt, and harm. Ending a story with zero spirit does not bode well for your character, but this might be what you want in a tale. Each attribute has a number of points. To determine this, split 10 points between each, with a minimum of 3 in each. For example, 6 in resolve and 4 in spirit. While the scenario may give you an indication of what your character may do for a living, do create a name for her and think about a little backstory to help with the flavor of the story. It may help inspire one of your scenes. So, setting up the game, English Eerie uses playing cards to help the story unfold. Instead of using the entire deck, the game uses a select number of cards that you must set up at the beginning of the game. I've done that. Take 3 queens of any suit. These are the Grey Ladies, a staple ghost in English folklore. When a Grey Lady is revealed, the tension increases and an event occurs determined by the scenario you're playing. Then take a 4, 5, 6, and 7 of all 4 suits, shuffling these into a single deck, split the deck into 3 piles and put a Grey Lady on the bottom of each before placing them back into a single deck. So now it's 16 cards actually, divided by 3 means you've got a pile of 6 and 2 piles of 5. I've decided to put the pile of 6 as the topmost so that it gives me 6 times the ability to play a scene without the Grey Lady coming. So this is known as the story deck. You will also need a journal to write in and a D10 and in addition a lit candle. Finally, you will need one of the printed scenarios in the back of this book to refer to. So basically the way this works is we are going to start revealing cards which correspond to scenes in your story. Start the game by placing the card at the top of the story deck at the side of the deck. We're going to do this in a second. The suit of the card will determine the type of scene that you're going to play. Like I said, the hearts represent a secondary character that may be harmed or dead. To this end, I've actually put everything into Legend Keeper because Legend Keeper allows you to randomly select from a table. Clubs, secondary character obstructs me. There's an obstacle that's going to be created, and there's a list of obstacles for each scenario that I'm going to basically choose from. I'm actually going to roll. Diamonds, environmental obstacles. Spades, discover a minor clue. And again, for all of these, there are lists. In order to overcome an obstacle, you roll a d10, and if the number is equal to or higher than the card, so let's say it's a 3 of clubs, then I need a 3 or plus any Grey Ladies already on the table. And I can use resolve points to overcome before I roll. So if I say I'm going to spend resolve, I can say I'm going to spend 1 point of resolve to make sure that I overcome, or to increase my chances of overcoming the obstacle, because then I roll the d10 and the 1 point of resolve is added to the result. Every 2 cards revealed count as a day in our journal. The only time this isn't the case is when the final Grey Lady is revealed. The last Grey Lady represents an entire day in your journal. It is recommended that you play the game over a series of real nights, giving you a chance to ruminate over the story and come up with new ideas throughout the day. So basically, when we do reveal a Grey Lady, we have to go to the tension table, and this is numbered 1, 2, 3. And we have to read the tension table, and I haven't done this, to determine the event. This is usually left fairly ambiguous, so you can be as creative as possible when you tell your story. The suit of the Grey Lady does not matter. To simulate the creeping increase in horror, when a Grey Lady is revealed, you must either spend a resolve point or lose 1 spirit. If you cannot lose any more spirit points, you still remain at 0 spirit and you keep playing. The final Grey Lady revealed signals the end of the tale, so this is where you should wrap up. The tension table for the scenario will indicate the final reveal of the horror. Okay, we're not going to look at the example of play, and we are going to go over to Legend Keeper. And if you're wondering, there is no, I will not be sharing this. I'm just going to narrate the story. So first of all, we need to decide who we are. My name is going to be Mary. No, do we have a, no, we have a Mary in the scenario as a secondary character, so that's not good. I'm going to be Verity. Thunderbrook. No, Verity. I'm going to be Verity Brooks. And I'm actually going to take out my journal because I do have one here. I don't think I'm going to write a lot into it, but I will. I've decided to make a start on this, so I'm going to be Verity Brooks. And I am Verity Brooks. I'm a 35-year-old bachelorette. And I am a librarian and antiquarian in the Cthulhu-esque way. So basically, I'm somebody who travels around the English countryside, and I do research and I write stories and so on. And I actually try to research, like old folk tales. This is what I do. And since I don't know how this is going to play, I'm actually going to give myself 5 spirit and 5 resolve. Okay. And I'm actually going to narrate my story to dearest Olivia, who will receive letters from me. So, okay. I'm just gonna make a note here. Spirit 5. And I'm going to make another text field, and that's gonna be a resolve. Resolve 5. So basically I'm just going to indicate in the top line that this is what I have, what I start out with. And then let's see if I can actually add this. Die roller. 1, 10. Let's see if it picks it up. It does. Oh, I'm amazed. Okay, so we are going to play the river. Is it actually called the river? The Lost River. The date is 1921. I have been asked by 3 people, one of whom is a friend of mine that has accompanied me on many of my journeys, to go on a boating holiday down the River Eden in Cumbria. We're planning on taking a canoe from the river. No, actually, dearest Olivia, it's now, let's say we wouldn't be doing this in the dead of winter. It's, let's say, the 24th of August, 1921. Dearest Olivia, a dream has come true. Remember Mary Jones? A feisty, independent lady with a taste for adventure? You know, the one. She's accompanied me on many expeditions, and, you know, I really am fond of her, but she is kind of a little bit on the unpredictable side. Anyway, being as unpredictable as she has always been, she has asked me to go on a boating holiday down the River Eden in Cumbria. She said that she's going to bring 2 of her friends, Jeffrey Rose, and Ivy Prairie. Now, it seems like Ivy is from the States. It is unbelievable. So she's an American who has moved to the Lake District. And Jeffrey, I mean, you do remember, dear Jeffrey, he suffered so in the Great War. So we're gonna take a canoe from the river source in Mallestrang and sail down to Carlisle. It's gonna be around 90 miles in distance. So far, it's been great just even planning for the trip. I'm gonna be back and tell you more when we have our first landing and I can get this letter into the post. So this is still part of the synopsis. Dearest Olivia, I don't know when I will be able to post this letter to you. Despite the first few days being very pleasant, with very little in the way of weather trouble, on the 4th day a mist descended and the world suddenly became rather hostile. I don't know, it's you know, it's really changed. I don't even feel like it's August anymore. It looks like it's more the dead of winter. On the 5th day, everything was completely different. The land around us is now barren and bleak, and there's not a soul to be seen. We've decided to camp on a not too far away from a sand dune that would give us some shelter from the wind. However, when we woke up in the morning, the canoe was destroyed. It's going to take several days for us to repair it. So I'll keep adding to this letter. And yeah, possibly you will see me even before this letter reaches you. So now we're going to draw our first card. The first card is a 6 of clubs. Now, a 6 of clubs denotes that a secondary character obstructs me. So we're going to first randomly choose the character obstacle, and then we're going to see who is the most likely character that would perform this. Because I think, you know, choosing even a random character is a possibility, but I would prefer to first see what they are going to do and then to try and match it to the description of the characters that I have. Having said this, Mary Jones being completely unpredictable could be a possibility for all of them. So we're going to roll a d6 and dropping the highest because I only have 5 possibilities. So a 1d6 and we roll a 3. A character pins you to the ground. Okay. Jeffrey Rose is a longtime friend and ally from the Great War. We've both seen atrocious things and are both still coming to terms with the horrors of the trenches. But I get a feeling it has affected Jeffrey more than it has you. I would say that I was probably and that's so funny because I'm playing Verity, because I used to play Verity in a Call of Cthulhu, and she was also a nurse in the First World War. So yes, I was basically a nurse or nursing help staff way back in country. So I didn't go to the Somme because I wasn't really a real paramedic, but I basically decided to do my work at the home front. And as a result, I ended up in a hospital, and so did Jeffrey, and I was nursing him through his shell shock. Dearest Olivia, you will not believe what happened. As I was trying to help with the repairing of our canoe, Jeffrey suddenly turned on me. He took the little hammer that I was holding from me, and he pinned me to the ground, and he said, "You are the devil! You are the devil! You are the devil!" It was terrifying. I don't know what got into him, but I can only assume that it was the past experiences from the Great War. He must have seen something. And also, of course, the bleakness and the loneliness of our situation mustn't help. It's... Maybe he was reminded of something that he saw on one of those lonely nights at the Somme, waiting for the signal to go over and watching for the Hun to make a move. So now we draw the second card. Oh, sorry. Now we need to overcome this. So it's a d6. It's a d10 and we have to roll a 6. I think I'm not going to spend resolve, and we're just going to see what happens. And I roll a 5, so I fail. And he kept me pinned down, and then he basically struck me in the face. And it took Mary and Ivy all of their force to remove him from me. But now I feel I can't be near him alone. I really need to keep away from him. I don't feel safe. And it's terrible to have to say that I'm not feeling safe around one of my best and oldest friends. And we lose 1 spirit. So now we're down to 4. So next we draw the next card, and it is a 4 of clubs again. It's again a secondary character that obstructs me. Let's see what the secondary character does. On a 6 we have to re-roll, and we roll a 1. And now the character refuses to come out of the tent. Dearest Olivia, Jeffrey has gotten worse. He has been trying to stay in his tent. Nothing the others have tried so far has convinced him to come out, but I fear that if he doesn't come out, we will not be able to move the canoe once it's finished. I really need to talk him into leaving the tent and help us, because although Ivy is quite the sporting type, and very agile and strong, I don't think that with the 3 of us alone we can move the canoe. So I'm going to try and convince him to come out. So again, I'm going to use a die roller, and I'm going to roll a d10, but I'm not going to spend resolve. And I roll a 1. So now I'm down to spirit level 3, which is not good. And dearest Olivia, I've been unsuccessful. Jeffrey actually took out his army revolver. I don't understand why he brought it with him, and he threatened to kill us all. He said he's definitely not gonna come out of this tent. If he doesn't, there is no way we can continue our journey. I just hope that the weather changes soon, because I hope that with a little sunlight, his mood will lighten. So this concludes the first day. So now is the next day. And we draw a 6 of spades. I discover a minor clue. Okay, so there is no obstacle roll because it's a clue. And we're going to roll again a d6 and drop the 6 if we roll a 6. And we roll a 4. Okay, dearest Olivia, I don't know how to say this, but something has really happened to us. I don't think we're in England anymore. We're not on the River Eden anymore. I think we're not even in the Northern Hemisphere anymore. Last night, for the first time in days, I was able to see the stars. And you wouldn't believe what I saw. Remember when we were looking at the star charts that the people brought over from Australia, where you cannot see Vela, nor Orion, nor the Great Wain? No, the stars look completely different. And remember how we admired the Southern Cross, which is also a part of our flag. Well, not our flag, but the flag of Australia. I saw the Southern Cross last night, and it was clear as day. So something has really happened. Something has transposed us to a new place. I don't know how to tell the others. I'm not even sure if I should. But knowing this, I honestly don't know. So we draw the next card. It's a 7 of diamonds as well. So we get a 7 of spades. We also discover another clue. We roll a 2. Dearest Olivia, I told you about what I saw last night, about the Southern Cross. When I left my tent this morning, it was even worse. I saw a ring of dead crows. And when I say a ring, I really mean a ring. It was as if somebody had killed them. I counted them. I know this sounds so morbid. I went to count the dead crows, and there was 13. Isn't that odd? 13. Of all of the numbers that could have been there, it was 13. And they were placed in a perfect circle. You know, like a witch ring? Like when you find mushrooms growing in a perfect circle and everybody tells you don't step inside because then the little people will get you. I found a perfect circle of 13 dead crows. I didn't step inside, but I'm pretty sure we're not alone. Something's happening. Not only have they brought us to the southern hemisphere, but now they're watching us. I wonder what Jeffrey really saw in me when he called me the devil. Maybe he didn't see me, or maybe it is in me. I don't know. I'll write more later. Night is falling. I want to go to sleep because I'm dead tired. We've been working on the canoe again, but Jeffrey still won't come out. I feel this is futile, but at least it gives us something to do. I can see it in the way Mary and Ivy exchange glances. From the very beginning, I noticed that there was more between them than just friendship. But now I can see in their looks how desperate they are, that this may be their last time together. We'll see what happens, but I'm dispirited too. And this concludes the second day. We'll draw another card, and it is a 7 of clubs. A secondary character obstructs me. Okay, so we're going to see the secondary character obstacle. We're going to roll. And we roll a 1. A character refuses to come out of the tent. Okay, so now it's a 7, and I am desperate to get him out of the tent. So I'm going to roll a d10, and I'm going to try and get Jeffrey out, and I'm going to spend 1 resolve, so I get a +1 to my roll. And I roll a 7. That would have been enough, but +1 is an 8. Dearest Olivia, at least there is some hope. I was able to get Jeffrey to leave the tent for the first time in 2 days, and I'm still wary around him. But when I look at him, I just see a face full of utter defeat. He's helping, and we've given him work to do on the canoe, and I think that is distracting him. But I've kept everything else secret. I've kept everything else secret, like the Circle of Crows, like the Southern Cross. But the weather is grinding everyone down. But at least dear Jeffrey is now part of our group again. And I'm also going to remove the character refuses to come out of the tent, because otherwise it gets too repetitive. So I'm going to strike it through. This is no longer a viable option to roll. So we're now going to draw the next card, and it is a 5 of hearts. A secondary character is harmed or dies. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to choose randomly one of the secondary characters, and Legend Keeper actually allows you to select a random row, and it chooses Jeffrey. And now there is no table for how they get harmed or how they or what happens to them. So I'm going to narrate this. I think that Jeffrey... Okay, I'm going to arbitrarily roll and say on a d10, on a roll of 4 or less, he will actually harm himself in a manner that will lead to his death. However, if it's 5 or more, then he just comes to harm in another way that I will have to determine and come up with. Okay, so let's roll a d10. And I rolled a 2. God. Dearest Olivia, almost all hope is lost, I fear. Jeffrey came out of the tent and we put him to work, and it seemed like he was at least perking up a little. But then he waded into the river. And the river, being as powerful as it is at this time of year, just dragged him away. And he was lost. I don't know if he's still alive. I doubt it. Maybe he was washed up the shore just a couple of miles down and he will find his way back, but I doubt it. I don't know how to deal with this. I really don't. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rule that I need to overcome this. And I'm going to do this by rolling a d10. And I need to meet the number minus my available spirits. So at the moment the card, and plus any grey ladies that we may have on the table, which we don't. So it's a 5 of hearts minus my 3 spirits. So I need to get a 2 or higher. Otherwise I will... No. Yeah. Otherwise I will lose a spirit. And I rolled a 6. So that's good. So I don't lose a spirit. But of course we've lost Jeffrey. For the time being. So now we draw another card, and it is the first grey lady. It's actually the lady of the Queen of Clubs. And we're going to take a look at the first tension table. In the morning, 3 strange symbols are etched into the mud outside your tents. Dearest Olivia. Okay, when tension happens, do we actually lose spirit? I believe we do, don't we? Okay, we either have to spend 1 resolve or lose 1 spirit. We're going to spend 1 resolve. We're down to 3. Dearest Olivia, things are getting worse. And you may wonder, how can they get worse? Well, they are getting worse. And we woke up this morning, and I couldn't prevent anyone else from seeing them. We saw 3 things, 3 symbols, etched into the mud outside our tents. Somebody must have been there in the night. They must have come so close to the tents that they could have touched them if they are anywhere near human size. But the symbols themselves, I cannot even tell you. The symbols themselves, they are a canoe, and 4 people in it. And then a broken canoe, and only 3 women. And the last image, that must be Jeffrey. It's the image of a male human broken into 2. Someone's not only watching, but is actively interfering with us. I have no hope for Jeffrey. I believe he's dead. And I think we have been talking for 50 minutes now, and I think this is a good time to end it. I will definitely play through this scenario, and I will probably do 1 day per session. Now, the next sessions will be a lot shorter because there won't be the preliminary information and so on and so forth. But I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, yeah, I mean, go and check out the game. Of course, you know, what I have been playing through will spoil this particular scenario for you. So if you are going or intending on getting the game, you know, then maybe stop listening and don't go to the second one. But if you don't, and you enjoyed this, then yeah, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Talk to you soon. Bye.